Hi, my name is Ryan Adams, and I'm a PhD candidate in the Industrial Engineering Department. I've had a chance to TA the Senior Design course for 2 years now, and today I'm going to talk to you about team communication. Once you've been assigned a team, you should start working on your team contract, even if you haven't been given a specific project description yet. Having a team contract increases individual accountability. You're all agreeing to the terms in this contract. By sitting down and going through every team member's expectations for the group and the project, everybody should be on the same page, and thus conflict should be reduced. The most effective team contracts are very specific. Agree on the details up front, and you won't be arguing about them when you're annoyed about something later on. So why bother with a team contract? A team contract clearly defines the expectations on how team members will communicate, make decisions, and conduct themselves. Each team member joins a team with expectations for how team members should act. Even if those expectations are subconscious, they still exist and can cause issues during the project. Explicitly defining the expectations for team members can reinforce positive behaviors while mitigating harmful effects of negative behaviors. An important component of the team contract is establishing how violations will be handled. How can an affront be addressed to improve team cohesiveness? Pointing fingers and long arguments won't help the team get back on track. You need specific procedures for providing truthful, complete feedback to each other while behaving professionally. So how do you start? When preparing your team contract, you need to have open dialogue between all team members. While the team lead should facilitate discussions, they should not lead all discussion. Each member should participate in drafting and finalizing the team contract. The points included in the example team contract on this course's Blackboard site are required minimum. You should add more points and details as suitable for your team. Begin by having every team member provide their email address and/or phone number, relevant experience, and current schedule. Relevant experience should describe any past internships, completed elective courses, special skills such as SolidWorks finite elements analysis, resources such as power tools and access to a color printer, and also weaknesses such as lack of experience with technical writing or public speaking. Each team member's schedule should note when they're not available throughout both semesters, whether it's for recurring commitments like classes or work, or for one-time events like traveling for interviews. Use these known times to develop a schedule for team meetings. Some things like interviews will be scheduled during the course of this class. How and how soon should a team member inform the rest of the group of an upcoming scheduling conflict? That's up to the team. For team meetings, how often will you meet? Will it be weekly? More than once a week? Is everybody required to attend every meeting? If, for whatever reason, somebody can't attend a mandatory meeting, what should they do, and what are the consequences for missing that meeting? Where will you meet? Ensure that everyone has a way to get there. Not everybody has a car. Sometimes you may need to meet more often to complete certain tasks. How will those meetings be scheduled? Who is responsible for scheduling those meetings? Consider setting a fixed length of time for some types of meetings. Having a set time can improve productivity in the time that you have. Who will set meeting agendas? If you'll be holding different types of meetings, what kind of agenda items belong in which type of meeting? When you are meeting, who will keep the team focused? How will focus be maintained? So consider allotting certain agenda items specific, limited amounts of time. During meetings, what are the expectations for individual participation? And must everybody participate in every meeting? If one person is talking, must they be allowed to finish? If someone is upset, how should they address the issue at hand? Should they speak up immediately, interrupting the meeting, or would within 24 hours be acceptable? What are the expectations for paying attention? If somebody has constant distraction from their phone or other items, what should happen? While it's a good idea in general for this course, you are required to record meeting minutes and post them on your group's Blackboard blog. How will you keep track of what happened during each meeting? Who is responsible for recording and disseminating the meeting minutes? Will they email an attachment or merely text a notification that the minutes have been uploaded to Blackboard? Each meeting minutes should include the original meeting agenda along with meeting attendees and actual topics discussed. How will the team make decisions? Does everybody need to approve of a decision, or is it a mere majority vote? If somebody missed a meeting where a decision needs to be made, do they get a vote? How will their vote be counted? If a decision was made, Detail the decision-making process and what final decision was made. Every meeting should end with action points, or the next steps that each individual should take before the next meeting. These should be included in the meeting minutes. Outside of formal meetings, how will your team maintain contact with one another? You may want to keep everything in the Blackboard discussion blog for accessibility by all members, but other options are also acceptable. In-person meetings, specific class times, email chains, group text, and group messaging apps like WhatsApp. Your team contract should also list the stakeholders in the project besides the group members. Include their positions and employers, corporations, along with contact information. Detail how each stakeholder will be kept in the loop as the project progresses. Will you have weekly phone conferences or email updates? Different stakeholders likely expect different levels of detail during the updates. Be sure you know what everybody expects. See the stakeholder communication video for more information and advice. If you'll have recurring in-person meetings with any project stakeholder, detail the day, time, location, and attendance requirement for those meetings in the team contract. How much advance notice should be given before scheduling an in-person meeting with the stakeholder? Which team member is responsible for communicating with project stakeholders? Meeting minutes should be recorded at stakeholder meetings and posted to the group's Blackboard blog. Another major section of your team contract is the expectations section. What level of quality is required for individual work on presentations, writing, research, and similar tasks? Should an individual bring their work to the writing center before handing it into the group, or will a more final draft of the report be brought for external review? How far in advance of a deadline are individual sections expected? Who is responsible for reviewing the work? How many hours of presentation practice are you going to schedule for each gate review? You should schedule several practice periods, and they should be several days in advance of the actual presentation to allow for time to modify the presentation as needed. So how will you ensure every team member participates equally? How will tasks be divided between the team members? How will you ensure all team members' ideas are heard? Who is responsible for what? Who is responsible for maintaining the group's Gantt chart and the milestones for the year? How often will the team review its performance? So if the team is getting off track, what will you do to get it back on track? Explain how phase leaders will be chosen. For this course, phase leaders are rotating in position. For teams with 5 or fewer people, each team member must serve as team lead for at least one phase. For teams with 5 or more people, no one person may serve as phase leader twice. I recommend that you choose team leaders in the beginning of the project when first creating your team contract, for the first 3 phases at least. Describe the special responsibilities of the team leader. What exactly are they responsible for? If conflict arises, what steps should be taken? Should the parties involved attempt to negotiate? Should a third party mediate the discussion process? Or even should a third party have the final decision in the conflict? If somebody is constantly arguing and rejecting compromises, what should be done about it? How will you address somebody who never stands up for their idea and compromises too much? Describe how the group will address any and all infractions of the team contract. Is the team lead responsible for addressing the member in conflict? What if the team leader is not following the team contract? Will the team lower their peer review scores or otherwise penalize constant failures to uphold the team contract? You should have several steps to address conflict before contacting a TA, but contacting a TA should be one of the final steps in your conflict resolution policy. For this course, the team contract must be approved by a course staff member, that is, a teaching assistant or a professor, before you submit the document on Blackboard.